everybody. Today we'll be chatting about the eczema stress cycle, and perhaps this is the root cause of your eczema. So if you get itchy when you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or anxious, or do you have that lifestyle that's busy, go, always doing for other people, just always on the go from the morning you wake up till you go to bed? If you ticked yes, let me know in the comments below, because it's not just you. This is something that's very common with literally every single person that comes into the Love Your Skin program, or if they don't realize it, in a couple months, they're like, oh, I've been going on overdrive my whole life. So if you're thinking, okay, yeah, great. So this is my lifestyle. I have to work, I have kids, I have all these demands, I have family, I have friends. This is just the lifestyle that I live. I'm not saying that we need to just be thinking happy thoughts and quit your job, go live on a deserted island somewhere. That's definitely not the solution. But we'll be chatting today about how to regulate that brain-skin connection and what's actually happening inside your body. So first of all, I always like to give little analogies. So the one that really hits close to home, and you would have heard me talk about a lot, is your body's like a flare-up bucket. So we know that so I guess to backtrack, if you think your body as a flare-up bucket of inflammation, what you want to do is think about what's causing the inflammation inside the body. So there's going to be inflammatory foods, there can be environmental toxins, gut dysfunction, stress is going to be a big one, and then maybe there's some hormone imbalances as well. So all of these different things are creating inflammation, and then when the bucket fills up, that's when it presents as rashes on your body. So you might be thinking, okay, well, why can, let's say, my partner or my family members or other people around me tolerate these things, but why am I so sensitive? So the first thing that I always like to do with clients is let's backtrack and look at your health history. So when was that hasn't been well since moment? When was that point when your skin it flared up and it didn't go back, and then you started getting more symptoms, like the gut symptoms and maybe painful periods, or maybe it's like low sleep and your allergies got worse? There's always a trigger point. And then what came up on your eczema symptom score? What body system did you score the highest in? If you haven't done the eczema symptom score, comment test below and we can send it to you. It's a really great resource to help connect the dots of what's causing inflammation inside the body. But the reality is that majority of the people will score high in the nervous system, and there hasn't been well since is around a major life event. If that's you, drop an emoji below. And it's not just you, it's everybody with eczema. So the thing is that with stress and anxiety and overwhelm, this creates, and this is the connection with your nervous system. So this creates activation in your nervous system, and then this is going to create neuroinflammation, and then that's what can create an extra histamine response in your body, in your brain. And the thing is that it's not stress that's the problem, and this anxiety and overwhelm. It's the body's reaction to it, because there's always going to be stressors, in life, right? There's going to be deaths in the family. There's going to be stresses at work, pandemics. There's all these things that are going to happen that's outside of our control. And you have to be able to have the resiliency to be able to withstand these challenges and have the coping tools to be able to get through these periods. Does that make sense? So it's not just about avoiding all these things, because there's a lot of talk these days on the internet just about toxic positivity, just be happy, just think happy thoughts, and just, push everything that doesn't feel good away. But that's definitely not the solution. So we want to be able to experience these challenging events, but then not have our skin flare up. Does that make sense? So some of the examples that we've been talking about lately in some of the interviews is Diana's. And so her hasn't been well since, that she shared with us, was the passing of both her parents and then COVID. And her face just completely blew up. So three very substantial life events, and her skin, there's so much inflammation in her body that it just came out through her skin. Another example was Zam. So actually they both developed eczema as adults. And with Zam, she started a new career as a masseuse. Everybody was like, it's a reaction to the oils that you're using. But when we started digging deeper and not just looking at the surface level approach, like, oh, there's a lot of emotional stuff that had been going on, right? These high expectations, always on the run, rushing. Okay, what's next? I need to control these different things. Everything has to be perfect. And she realized that a lifetime of having that mindset, it eventually came out through her skin. And it's interesting because every time, like when we have our Brain Skin series in the Love Your Skin program, and we have our psychotherapist Karen coming in, we talk about how eczema, from a psychotherapist point of view and from neuroscience, eczema is a condition of suppressed emotions that eventually comes out through the skin. So I hope that hits close to home, because this is really, really common with the brain-skin connection and people with eczema. Okay, I hope you guys are still following. So next, what I'm going to do is break down the nervous system, just so you can understand how everything's connected. Because a lot of people will just say, oh, well, the cause of my eczema, it's food. And I have this debate with a lot of people a lot, and even people that come through the program. I'm always trying to say, it's not food, it's you. It's how your body's reacting to it. Or people are like, okay, I have leaky gut, or I have dysbiosis, and that's the problem. No, there's more to it than that. Or it's, okay, I have these, it's this toxic overload, and I need to detox, I need to do all these things. There's more to it than that. So to help break it down, there's two different branches of your nervous system. So when we're talking about this high-stressed fight, flight, survival mode, that's the part of your nervous system that kicks in if you're running away from a tiger. And then you have another branch of your nervous system, that's the rest, digest, healing state. And so this is when you're in a calm state, your breathing is regulated, you're safe, and you're feeling your system isn't activated. When your system gets activated because of some threat, what happens is your body will pull all the resources and blood flow to your vital organs. So then, it's a protective mechanism, so then you can run away from the tiger, right? And that's how we evolved. Otherwise, you just die. Well, not in today's culture. We have a big level of safety. But does that make sense? So they work independently, and your fight flight will always take priority. And so nowadays, it's not just because there's a true threat. There's a tiger or a bear chasing us. It's the thoughts in our head will create this response. So all that stress, anxiety, overwhelm, we used to only experience those when there's a tiger and we needed to flee. So what happens is that when we're go, high stress, anxiety, you're stuck in this chronic state of survival mode. Or if you have a major life event, like going back to Deanna's situation, is that she didn't have the tools and the coping mechanisms, and it was just a lot for her system to handle at that point, that high stressor went to a chronic state. And then so what happened is she didn't have the tools to cope with it, which she has learned now, and I'm very proud of her, to be able to have a high activation, go into that fight and flight, but then come back down again. Because again, we're not trying to avoid the stressors that put us into that fight, flight, survival mode. We want to be able to go up there, right? Be able to run away from a tiger, or just be able to get shit done when we need to, but we need to be able to come back down. Does that make sense? So that's the key when we're talking about regulating the nervous system. All right, so to loop in what happens with your body and all of these root causes and the different body systems. So when you're in that fight flight, it pulls all of that blood flow to your vital organs. to your heart, you increase your breath rate so you can run away, your eyes dilate. So all of the blood flow is going to your vital organs, and you'll feel that as shallow breathing, increased heart rate, flushing, palpitations, tightness in your chest, you're getting ready to flee. But then all of the rest and digest organs, like your digestion, like repairing cells, your sex hormones, because if there's a true threat, your body's not ready to bear a child. So that's where we see a lot of hormone imbalances. So then what happens is we aren't utilizing all of our nutrients for the rest and digest organs, because we don't need glowing hair, skin, and nails to survive. But we do need to be able to run away from that tiger to survive. So does that make sense? So then if we can zoom out again, and if we look at the body as a whole and think, okay, if I have food sensitivities, I'm really reactive to my environment, and I have all this gut dysfunction, okay, where did that come from? And so if you can link it back to those nervous system symptoms that we'd been talking about before, then what happens is those symptoms are going to signal to your body, we're in survival mode, and that's what's going to create a lot of the dysfunction. So when I talk to clients about, okay, well, how did your gut get to this place, right? And we start investigating the root cause. Well, the root cause isn't going to just be, I have overgrowth or intestinal permeability, right? What caused that? So yeah, it can be inflammatory foods. High stress is such a big one, and that's that gut brain connection. Very, very strong. Because if you're, like I just said, if you're in that fight and flight, you're not going to be digesting your food. So that is really, really, really big. And I really want to highlight all of that, because people will always just do surface level approaches and say it's food or it's the gut. But we always want to be thinking why. And then we can take it one step further. I'm going deep with this today. Is, okay, you could say, yeah, stress, right? Or it's anxiety. But we can't just blame that. Because then we want to be thinking, well, what's the root cause of that? And this is going a little bit deep. But this is what we do in the Love Your Skin program. And it is about really understanding yourself and how you got to that point. So then we can rewire that response. Because if your body's always on autopilot trying to say, okay, I need to have this from reaction from 0 to 100 in a stressful situation, and all of a sudden I'm yelling and screaming, or all of a sudden my body's just shutting down and I'm just a deer in headlights, or I just collapse because it's all been too much, that's not an effective way to be dealing with situations either. So we want to be able to have that activation, maybe go from 0 to 20, but then be able to come back down again. Does that make sense? Okay. So to wrap all of that up, you can have this activation in your nervous system, but we want to be able to regulate it. And this is what we talk about when I say the brain-skin connection and being able to regulate your nervous system. So being flexible and adaptive. And so there's many different ways that we can do this. And this is literally the very first thing that we do with clients that come into the Love Your Skin program. We get the body in a state to heal by aligning the eczema healing pillars. And we need to get that foundation first before you can do any diet or do testing or protocols. Because if this isn't done, nothing else is going to work. And you're always going to be back at square one, right? Because we want to be thinking, what's the root cause? Right? Okay, is there that underlying chronic stress and anxiety that's happening? If that's still happening, your body's going to go back to square one, right? And if your body's not in a state to heal, doesn't matter if you're going to be taking all the supplements or you're doing all the testing or eating all the food, you're going to be back at square one again. You might get some momentary relief, but then back there. And I did that for years and years and years. So take it from me, and you would have heard a lot of people that have done the interviews in the group as well that were stuck in those same cycles. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the chat below. But if you are on this journey and you would like some help understanding the different elements of the root cause, because it's not just one thing, it's going to be multiple things and different contributors as well. But if you want to start that journey and you would like some support on the healing journey, and you are ready to show up and do the work, because it does take work and it does take self-reflection, and it does take showing up and changing some of the lifestyle factors and some of the thoughts that are in your head, rewiring that brain-skin connection. If you are ready to embark on that journey, apply for the Love Your Skin program. We'll pop the link below.